Hey, what up? We are here in Medellin, Colombia, and today the topic is about anxiety. Now, anxiety is an emotional state characterized by feelings of worriness, unease, and nervousness. Now, anxiety is not a flaw. Anxiety is there to keep you alert for potential dangers, but this is back in the caveman days. In today's world, it's highly unlikely that a giant fucking monster is gonna come and eat you. Now, the issue comes about when these apart mechanisms are going on for no apparent reason. Now, when these anxiety mechanisms can go off when you're out of your comfort zone, and it's okay to be out of your comfort zone, but what it's not okay when these mechanisms get you so nervous that you are paralyzed and stuck. And today, what we're gonna get into is the 5 anxiety traps that if you learn to manage, you'll get unstuck and go about your day freely. Now, these anxiety traps are hesitation, rumination, fear of feedback and criticism, paralyzing perfectionism, and avoidance. Now, if you're a person that doesn't have any of these symptoms or walks around the world freely and without anxiety, rumination, avoidance, or paralyzing perfectionism, then I suggest you tune out right now and go spend your time somewhere more adequately. But if these symptoms resonate with you, you feel avoidance, rumination, unease, and nervousness, then I suggest you tune in and pay attention right now and take note so that you can make your life a lot easier and get to your goals. Let's get into that right now. All right, now in this segment, we're gonna be talking about your goals. Now in the goal segment, we have trying to avoid anxiety can cause for more anxiety. So when you're trying to evoke anxiety, you're trying to prevent you from doing certain activities or events. And when you're trying to prevent these activities, you build for less and less competency over time. And you're gonna increase your self-doubt in these fields and inevitably hurting your relationships. Labeling yourself crazy or weak. Now, some people will start believing that their anxiety makes them crazy or weak. This is not true. This is just part of being part of the anxiety catch-22. Now, when you stop trying to avoid these anxieties, then you'll start feeling like your mind belongs to you again. Over-monitoring. Now, when you over-monitor yourself, you start checking in with yourself. You're going back and forth internally, and what happens is that you're focused on the wrong thing. You're fixated on if you're anxious or not, and this tends to make things worse. Don't over-monitor. Finding the goals that are worth tolerating anxiety. Now, when you're trying to get away from anxiety, you're not just getting away from it, but you're moving towards something. And what you're moving toward is your goals. So you want to find exactly what lights a fire under your ass, and that is your goals. So ask yourself, what is the goal that is going to make me so lively, so fired up, that is you're going to be able to tolerate this anxiety? Now, we're in the segment of hesitancy. Now, in this segment, we want to talk about that you want to entertain the idea that your actions might have positive consequences. Now, when your mind starts playing negative consequences, you want to take that as a cue to display the potential of the positive consequences. As the value of acting with uncertainty and recognize the harm of not acting. Question the thought, I couldn't cope with trying something and it's not working out. Solving this problem comes down to realizing that you can actually cope with setbacks, mistakes, and failures. The thought, failure equals never going to succeed. Now, to overcome excessive hesitancy, you need to start seeing failure as just part of the process. Now, to get over this, you're gonna have to develop what's called a growth mindset. And a growth mindset means that at this point, you're at that position of whatever practice you're trying to take on, but that you can get better at it with the right kinds of action and practice. Now, a fixed mindset, which is the alternative, where you just see that you're at that level and you can't improve. Now, people with fixed mindsets will never grow and get better. Decrease your anxiety in an instant. Now, the best anxiety strategy to decrease your anxiety in an instant is slowing your breathing. This strategy is almost 100% guaranteed to work just because it's a physiological fact. Deciding when and where you're going to act. Now, psychology research shows that deciding when and where you're going to act will dramatically increase the likelihood that you're going to take action. Rumination. You want to identify when you're ruminating, such as replaying conversations with people in power, thinking if you're ever going to amount to any success, replaying any errors you've made, thinking about the path that you did not take, thinking of ways in which you're not as perfect as you'd like to be. Reduce self-criticism. Harsh self-criticism is not an effective motivational tool, especially when you're already ruminating. So the best thing to do is give yourself small, compassionate messages to propel you to useful problem-solving steps. Accept that you often won't know why people are acting in a particular way. Recognize when someone is acting strangely that behavior is not in there's a high likelihood they're not acting like that because of you, and more is because of something that's happening to them, and you probably won't know that reason. Paralyzing perfectionism. How to stop getting derailed by the wrong kinds of high standards. The first thing we're going to address is switching from performance focus to mastery focus. Now, performance focus is you're mainly concerned how to look good right there and then now. But mastery focus is how to make your skill set better in the long run. So if you switch from performance focus to mastery focus, you'll be more resilient, less fearful, and open to good new ideas. All or nothing thinking. All or nothing thinking is when you have difficulty seeing the middle ground. You overdo things, you do too much, and nothing is when you don't do anything about it. So when you're in all thinking, you'll be doing so much that you'll get exhausted, and when you do nothing, well, your success rate slows down. Now, learning to seek the middle ground will soothing your anxiety out. Fear of feedback and criticism. You want to recognize the cost of avoiding feedback, and you also want to recognize when you're misinterpreting negative feedback as worse than it really is. Be aware of the hostility bias. Now, when you have anxiety and stress accumulated, you start walking around thinking that people have hostile intent towards you. This is a type of personalizing. Now, if you walk around with this hostility bias on you, you'll start believing that it's you against the world, and that is not a proper thought to lower your anxiety. We are here in the Art Loft Gallery, and this last segment is going to be about avoidance. And the first concept we want to get into is that recognizing that knowing is better than not knowing. So people tend to avoidance cope when they feel that the negative feedback they're getting, they can't cope with it effectively. They'd rather put their head in the sand and not get into it. So what you want to do is you want to uplift your ability to cope with an upsetting reality, and this is going to strain your desire to avoidance cope. Use values conflict to overcome avoidance. People usually think of guilt as a negative emotion, but research has shown that guilt is actually associated with taking others' positive perspective and behavior. So if you learn to recognize how values conflict contradicts your values, then you'll be able to use the ensuing guilt to your advantage. All right, I want to thank you for joining me here in Medellin, Colombia, and this video about anxiety, and I'll be catching you in the next one. Peace.